Now, here's the thing, is that you can be buying businesses, you can be buying real estate, you can be buying stocks. There are so many ways that you can get this type of income. But again, we have to know the rules of the game. So, what are the rules of the game? Welcome back to Build Your Business with Brittany, the real estate agent training series where we turn hustle into closings and knowledge into confidence. I'm Brittany Handura, real estate agent, coach, and investor, and I'm here to make real estate easy for you. I want to help you build a business you love and a life you're proud of. Let's dive in and level up your real estate game starting now. Let's talk about some financial truths. These come from financial courses that Keller has created. And so truth number one, the key to happiness is not more money. Happiness is happiness. Money is money. So can money buy you things that will make you happy? Sure. It can buy you trips to Cancun. I love to go to Cancun. It can buy you, like gifts to give people. It can pay for things that you care about, like maybe nonprofit organizations and things like that. It can pay for things that lead to happiness. But these are two different things. Happiness is happiness and money is money. Whatever your life is about, more money will amplify it. Money won't change you, it will expose you. So if you're a bad person to start, you're gonna be a bad person with money. If you're a good person to start, you're gonna be a good person with money. Now remember, the reason we're talking about these truths is because a lot of times I hear agents talk about like, oh, I'm making a big commission and I feel uncomfortable with that because I feel uncomfortable with the amount of money I'm getting or whatever that is. But the reality is that you're working hard for that money. And there are many times when you're working hard for no money, where you are going to be working with a client and breaking your back for these people. And then they say, you know what? I'm not gonna buy a house anymore. You know what? I'm gonna take it off the market. You know what? I don't wanna work with you anymore. And so you have to remember that there are gonna be times when you're gonna be doing a lot of work and end up with nothing. And I talk about this before. If you are good at what you do, then you are worth the money that you make. And so we want to be clear about money when we get it. It is not a bad thing to have money. It is not an amazing thing to have money. Money is money, happiness is happiness, it's separate. And whatever your life is about, more money will amplify it. It's like a magnifying glass. It's not about, you're not gonna be a bad person if you make money, if you make more money. Unless you're a bad person already, then you might be. All right, and then these are going out of order, obviously. Money has its own rules and disciplines. If you don't learn them, then you're basically financially illiterate. We all want to be literate, right? We all want to be able to read, know the rules, understand what's going on in our lives, let alone with this huge topic of money. And so we have to learn the rules of money. That's part of what we're talking about today, is learning those rules. What are the rules and how do we make it work for us? So part of having these paychecks that come in is that you have to manage it appropriately. You have to have a certain amount go back into your business. You have to have a certain amount that you hold aside for taxes, right? You have to have a certain amount that's gonna come into your personal life so you can pay your bills and stay alive and keep working another day. And you have to learn those rules. We were playing a board game the other day and my wife was playing the same game we thought, and it turned out she did not know what the rules were. And so she was trying to get to an end that had nothing to do with winning the game. And so she was working really, really, really hard to get to do whatever she thought in her mind was the rules. And by the time we were almost to the end, I was like, why are you doing so bad? She's usually really good at board games. And I realized she didn't understand the rules. She was thinking it was one way and it was actually the other way. And she was basically running in the wrong direction to get to this end that she thought was gonna make it so that she would win. So this is the same way with money. We have to understand the rules. We cannot be financially illiterate. I hear a lot of people who say, oh, I don't like talking about money. I don't like the money thing and all this stuff. And I just say, you really forfeited that option when you decided to become a business owner. And that's what we all are. We're small business owners. And so we have to understand the rules of money. Let's talk about financial independence. So many of us get into real estate because we want financial freedom. That is what I say. I mean, that's what I said when I got in. I want financial freedom. I don't want to have to worry about money. I don't want to have to worry about where my next check is coming from. I don't want to have to worry about paying bills. I don't want to have to worry about anything. I want financial freedom. That is great and all, but until we learn those rules, we're not going to have financial freedom. The first step to financial freedom is financial independence. We are not dependent on our finances, really. So financial independence is a state in which an individual or household has sufficient wealth to live on without having to depend on income from some form of employment. So many of us have always had to rely on some form of employment. So the goal here is to say, well, our household can survive without me having to work. So obviously, what that implies is that you have to have either built up such a big pile that you get the dividends, or maybe you have passive income coming in from somewhere else. I always talk about how real estate is, for real estate agents, is like a legal way of doing insider trading. I always talk about how real estate for real estate agents is like legal insider trading. You are able to buy houses when that is the thing that you sell. You're able to buy them, you're able to understand the market better, you're able to do things in a way that the average buyer or seller is not able to do. And so you want to take advantage of that. This training today is not about how to buy houses or how to become wealthy from that, but that is something that should be part of your portfolio, is either doing rental houses or flips or whatever it might be. Maybe you buy it and then lease it out to somebody else and now you're the bank. Whatever that looks like to you, you should be doing some element of this, or at least have this as a goal. And let me tell you, landlording is not for everybody, so I'm not saying that should be what it is. But consider what it is in real estate that you can do that gives you passive income, because that's the goal to financial independence. We have to have that passive income. Now, one of the ways to be able to get to this spot of financial independence is lowering our expenses. When we have all kinds of expenses, it's really hard to make it so that our passive income can cover the expenses that we have. I play this game in my family. It's my favorite game. It's called Cash Flow, and it's from the creator of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. I think it's a fun game. Nobody else thinks it's that fun. So I only get to play it on my birthday because nobody else chooses it. But I always talk about how it's like the game of life / Monopoly on crack, because it's a long game. But the idea is that the first part of the game, you're in the rat race. You're just paying all your bills, you're working hard, you're doing all this stuff. And while you're in the rat race and you're just running on this hamster wheel, you could go into foreclosure, you could get bankruptcy, you could have kids. Oh my gosh, that's the worst. And during this time, you're buying what's called doodads. And those are terrible. You don't want doodads. You don't want to have to spend money on doodads. Sometimes they can be as little as, you bought coffee with a friend, so it's $40. And sometimes it's like, you got a wild hair and you decided to buy a boat, and now you owe $17,000, which a boat for $17,000, that seems like a steal. But anyway, the point is we're spending all this money, and what our goal is in this game is to lower your expenses and buy as many businesses or stocks or whatever it is to make it so that you have a passive income that's higher than your expenses. And there are two ways to do that: lowering your expenses and increasing your passive income. This is the game of life. This is what we need to do to win financially. Lower our expenses and increase our income, specifically our passive income. Now, the fun thing about this game is once you get out of the rat race, then the real game opens up. So you're like playing in this rat race for like an hour, and then once you get out, once your expenses are lower than your passive income, then you can get out of the rat race, and then that's when the real game starts. And so now here's the thing, is that you can be buying businesses, you can be buying real estate, you can be buying stocks. There are so many ways that you can get this type of income. But again, we have to know the rules of the game. So what are the rules of the game? Let's keep moving to talk about financial independence. Whoops. Before we continue, I want to remind you that if you're looking for even more real estate resources like an open house roadmap or a social media content calendar, then click the freebie link below because I have all kinds of resources to make real estate easy for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And now let's jump back in. Let's talk about 5 steps to financial independence. So the 5 steps, we're working toward getting out of financial dependence. So that's step 1. Financial dependence is that we're dependent on others financially. Our net worth and net worth and net cash flow are negative. So every month, if you're spending more than you make, you are financially dependent. You have to have a job. You're dependent on others. Maybe somebody keeps bailing you out. Maybe you're relying on your credit cards. All of that kind of stuff. That's financially dependent. That's step 1. And if you're there, that's okay. The goal is to keep moving forward. Step 2 is financial solvency, when all financial commitments can easily be covered from one's current income. So this is you're working and you have money coming in, but you can pay all your bills. You're financially solvent. So you're not like getting ahead necessarily, but you're doing okay. All right, financial stability. When a person has sufficient funds for their current needs as well as emergencies. So you're paying all your bills plus you have a savings account. Now, when we talk about this in regard to real estate and our business, we have to have what's called reserves. That's our emergency fund. That's the money that we have set aside, our reserves. Now, common thought, whatever I'm trying to think of, that word, is that you should have 3 to 6 months worth of expenses in your emergency fund. Because we have an irregular income, I definitely would recommend that be on the higher side. And also, separately, in your business account, you should have reserves enough to cover 6 months of expenses. So we're talking expenses here. So you're not saying, okay, well, all the money that I make, if I make $10,000 a month, I need to have $60,000. No, it's about your expenses. So if you make $10,000 a month, but maybe you only spend $5,000 a month, you only need to have $5,000 worth of reserves, $5,000 per month. So if you're having 3 months or if you're having 6 months, that's what you want to keep in mind. So, and of course, being a little cash heavy is not a bad thing, especially in these times where we're really unsure of what's going to happen, unsure of the future. The housing market's a little wonky. It's never a bad thing to store up on cash. All right, next, what step are we on? The 4th step is financial security. When one has sufficient savings, stable expenses, and is moving toward being debt-free. I want you to be debt-free in your personal life and in your business. If you want to have credit cards, great, but pay them off every time. You want to make sure that you're paying stuff off. You want to make sure that you don't have a revolving balance. You want to pay it off, and if you want to get the points or whatever that is, okay, great, but make sure you have enough to pay it off every single month. You don't want to carry a balance. This is just common knowledge, but what realistically happens is the reason credit card companies pass these credit cards out like crazy is because they know that everybody says, yes, I'm going to pay it off every single month. I'm going to be that person who pays it off. And realistically, a very, very small percentage of people actually do that. So when we talk about knowing the rules of money, a lot of people will talk about leverage debt and use debt in a positive way. And, specifically when we talk about leverage debt for a mortgage, yes, I'm on board with that. But when we start talking about leverage debt to get your airline points, if you can leverage your debt in that way, sure. But what ends up happening is that you are getting, what ends up happening is that you are paying 30% to get 2% back. Is that really what you want to do? Is that really what you're thinking is going to be beneficial for you? No, we want to move toward being debt free. So, financial security is having all of our debts paid off. We have sufficient savings, and notice how it says stable expenses. Stable expenses is going to mean like our fixed expenses, things like our mortgage, things like our utility payments, things like paying for food, things like that. That's stable expenses. But if you throw in there, and also I have a $10,000 credit card bill, and so every so often I have to pay $300, not every so often, every month I have to pay $300 a month on that. That's not going to be stable expenses. We want to pay those off. That's how we get our expenses down. So remember, I'm tying all of this to personal expenses and your business expenses. It's the same idea. And then finally, number 5, financial independence. When one has enough money for current lifestyle, long-term needs, and expenses. So our long-term needs are going to be where that passive income needs to start coming in, right? We need to make sure that we're having passive income for our long-term needs. Whether that's we built this huge stock portfolio, we have rental houses, whether we are buying businesses, whatever that is where we need to get to cover those long-term needs. Because we can say, I had a really good year and I covered all my expenses. I have this great emergency fund. I'm debt-free. That's great. What happens next year? We have to think about the future. We have to think about, especially being in real estate, we do not contribute to a 401k. Hopefully you're contributing to a Roth IRA, but you are limited on how much you can contribute to that. That's not going to be enough to grow your wealth in the future. You need to be taking advantage of the industry that you're in. You have to think about what is your long-term future. And sure, you can be selling houses into your 80s, but do you want to? I don't want to. I would like to not have to worry about that when I'm in my 80s, but maybe that's just me. All right, P.T. Barnum says, money is a terrible master, but an excellent servant. So we can control our money, but money can also control us. When we're in debt up to our eyeballs and we're saying, I got paid, so now I need to put it toward this and this and this and this. Listen, I've been there. That is how I've lived for a long time, and it is not fun, let me tell you. The most fun that you can have with money is when you're totally set and you can be paying for all the fun stuff. That is when money is our servant. But the other way around, money is a terrible master. I love this one because this goes back to that financial freedom. James Clear says, real wealth is not about money. Real wealth is not having to go to meetings, not having to spend time with jerks, not being locked into status games, not feeling like you have to say yes, not worrying about others claiming your time and energy. Real wealth is about freedom. And what I like to say too is real wealth is about the freedom to say no. To say no to those clients that you don't want to work with, to say no to those people who you're like, this is not going to bring me joy. I'm not going to work with them because I don't need to. I don't have to have that income. When we have to have the income, we say yes to everybody. And I do always like to say, we're not in the business of saying no to business. However, when you have the financial freedom, It's great to say no to business. It's great to say, you know what, I don't want to work with that person just because I don't feel like it. It's great to say, I don't want to drive all that way, so I'm going to refer it to somebody else. But when you are still growing your business and when you're still working on stuff, you're like, yes, I will go anywhere, I will do anything. But notice how some of the big agents are like, I'm only going to go within 20 minutes. I'm not going to drive more than 20 minutes. Listen, let me tell you, I'm not there yet. I still am like, yes, I'll go other places. Now, part of my business model is that I work with other agents because I do this. I have a lot of agents that I'm able to work with. But I want to make sure that I'm still in my wealth building phase. I want to get all that money. I'm not to the point where I have the financial freedom to say no. I mean, sometimes I do say no, which is nice because in the beginning, I wasn't saying no to anybody. I hope that helped. And don't forget, we're here live every Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Join me live to get your questions answered in real time by registering at the link in the description below. Let's keep building, growing, and closing those deals. And don't forget to like and subscribe and share this with another agent who needs this. You've got this and I've got you. And I'll see you in the next video.